You know what it is. Welcome to A.Bevy Radio episode, I think
I want to
7.
say 7, but we need to stop counting because it's about to get too far. But yeah, this might be one of my favorite
Yeah,
episodes.
we officially on episode. I think we really gonna take it there. I think we really gonna take it there. Before this episode started, we started with a song called "Toxic" by R&B songstress named Kalani. It's the intro to her new album. Make sure you check her album out. As I think toxicity is a real thing now. How you feel about the idea, term, whatever?
Let me tell you something. I love that we like to call stuff out now, but I feel like we pick and choose what we call out. Your friends be toxic, to be honest. There's a lot of bad behaviors. If we define toxicity, like, I don't know, it's multi-layered. I'm hoping this episode helps me, filter through some of these issues and figure it out, because it is serious. Toxicity is a thing. And when I think of it as behavior being toxic, like chemicals are toxic and how it messes up stuff around it, I agree. I definitely think that's a thing. But what do we label as toxic? Now that's where I'm like, gray area.
Yeah, so we're looking at like the definition of toxic. So it's something that's been around, like people think, as far as pop culture or social media culture, people talking about toxic relationships. Mm-hmm. But overall, we can, like, I think this episode, let's look at toxic from a wide standpoint, and then we can break it down in different forms.
Yeah.
So I think first what we should do is define it.
You got to start at the root of it. Like, what's the definition? What do you think it means?
Exactly. I think we can bring somebody on who is, I think, extremely intelligent, belittles her knowledge. I think overtly experienced, doesn't give the clout needed to the things she's experienced in life and in her mind, and she hasn't experienced in her future. And just in general, her being a young woman, a grown woman, a woman who stands on her own. I think she can bring us a good definition. So right now we want to bring in, matter of fact, you introduce her for certain reasons.
Well, I'm going to introduce this young lady because apparently she got the answers. She's going to define the definition based on knowledge, experience. I want to say unbiased views. Just this young lady, I grew up with her and I've known unbiasedness our entire life. And she forces me to question things. So at this time, let's bring on Manar Soluiman.
The great.
Hey, y'all.
Hello.
It feels great to be in your presence, even digitally.
Be right, please. You the boss, man.
Chill. So we're here today.
Hold on, Manar, back up a little bit so we can see you.
Yeah, the silhouette of greatness. Put the whole thing on there. We're here today to measure toxicity. This episode is called Measuring Toxicity. But before we go forward and dive into it from a personal standpoint, from a worldly standpoint, like, what does this toxic thing even mean? When was the first time you heard about, like, toxic as far as, like, the lives we live? When did it come about?
I think it came about a couple years ago. I feel like the word was discovered and people ran with it real quick. Like anything that wasn't what they thought was good was toxic. Like anything that didn't align with people's views was automatically toxic. That's not really how it goes in my head. I'm a science person for one. So toxic to me, first definition is going to be anything relating to or caused by what? Poison.
Hold on. So we have an official A.Bevy Radio definition of toxic. Let me write this down. Say that louder for the people.
Okay, anything relating to or caused by poison is what toxic means. So in a human standpoint, I think it's anything that's harmful, to a person's being. Whether that's your physical, mental, spiritual self, that's toxic. And or anything that depreciates or attempts to depreciate your value.
Oh!
I don't think anything can depreciate your value, but it attempts.
anything
toxic.
Anything that attempts to depreciate your value. So just to catch up before, I'm sure she got a question for you. We got three, break the definition down into three parts.
Mm-hmm.
At least what I got. Anything toxic, a noun in 2020, anything related to or caused by poison.
Right.
Anything that's harmful to a person's being, and anything, emphasis on the anything, that attempts to depreciate your value.
Right. That's my definition.
Yeah, I ain't got nothing to add to that.
Based on that definition, and I agree. I mean, based on what you said, like especially starting off scientifically, something that's poisonous. So something that's poisonous to you.
Right.
That last one, and I love the order that you gave it, because attempts to depreciate your value, it's a lot out here.
But it has to attempt, because things aren't supposed to be able to. So that ties into, some people are toxic to themselves. You allow things to. So now, are you the toxic one?
So it's not him. Like, let's use example for it. So it's not him that's toxic. He not doing nothing crazy. I'm allowing it. So I'm the toxic person in that relationship.
To myself.
So let's take it from a relationship standpoint, right?
Mm-hmm. Because
that's where it originated, for me, whether we talking about future or whether we talking about future. It got to a point where I'm a music guy, so we look at you up there on DJ status with me, even without the parties. But if we go back and look at, R&B, certain sounds, there's kind of separation when love came, when it came to like pleading for love, being honest about the love.
Crying in the rain for love, okay?
All of that. So I think we hit a point to where I guess that term toxic came in because you could kind of degrade a situation, or I don't know if degrade is the right word. We can say depreciate a situation.
The situation.
Intentionally and brag about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And still move forward in building that relationship. So from your standpoint, how does the word toxic apply to relationships?
From my standpoint, honestly, I think it's overused in relationships. I think we have become accustomed to painting this picture of people, and then when they do not align with the standard that we have for them or for them in our lives, we automatically call them toxic. But really, we just lost the art of seeing people for who they are, because 9 times out of 10 people will show you exactly who they are. So we strayed away from that, started painting these images of people. When they don't meet up to that image, we're like, dang, they're toxic. No, that's not really the case. That's not always the case.
So in that sense, with your definition and how you feel about toxicity and how it's used in relationships, do you feel like if someone is labeled toxic, poison is poisonous to everybody?
Right.
So if there's poison in this room, whether you walk in it, whether B White walk in it, whether I walk in it, we all gonna get poisoned. So can I personalize that person like, oh, they're toxic, but you meet them and they're the best thing in the world? So was that person really toxic?
That's my point. It's somebody might take you at face value. Somebody else might, be like, well, you're not aligning with my needs. So they might be able to call you toxic. But the next person that's taking you at face value can think like, this is the best thing since sliced bread. Like,
so do you think Future is toxic? Because I feel like Future is toxic.
Okay, here we go. I personally don't, because he shows you who he is. He shows you, like, but if somebody is honest with you, that's not really toxic. He's telling you, this is who I am. He's showing you, this is who I am. You're walking into the trap, and then you're like,
so now let me use your definition against you very quickly. Okay. Nowhere in there did it say toxicity is the hidden poison. It's not secret. He told us who he was. He's still poisonous. So nowhere in there did it say it had to be hidden or manipulative.
Okay, by the science definition, yes. By the somebody that is harmful, you have to allow somebody to harm you. If you were never in my life, how can you harm me?
But see, listen, that doesn't take away. That is about the reaction I get. Okay, that doesn't. A poison ivy tree is not. It's still poison ivy whether I rub it on my arm or not.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. We cannot say, even though I decided to rub it on me, all of a sudden it became toxic. Now I'm the toxic person. If that thing poisonous, it's poisonous over here, over there, everywhere.
That is true. But if nobody's walking in the forest, guess what? Nobody's gonna get poisoned.
But is it still poisonous?
Did the tree fall even though you didn't hear it?
Poisonous, whether it hurts somebody or not. I think we can't measure toxicity based on your reach, your ability. A lot of people call Future, like, they over exaggerate his toxicity because of his reach, because he's famous, right, because he's a celebrity. Honey, if Future was a nerd in a corner doing the same behavior he doing, that is still a toxic nerd, okay?
That like, is. No, I can agree. Excuse me, I can agree to that, but I personally think a person is as toxic as you allow, I guess. I cheated tried on that, but I still believe like you're walking into it, so I can't.
I think we agree that the harm done by that person is based on us. If I decide to walk in that room and inhale that poison, that causes me to be negligent, and now I'm dumb. But it does not. I definitely agree to that. But it don't stop the room from being poisonous.
Right.
Okay.
I can agree to that for sure.
So let's take it to another level. When we're talking about us being able to make decisions as far as the relationships we place ourselves in, from a worldly view, again, the definition that we have deemed it as, we have no arguments with you, toxic being anything related to or caused by poison, anything that's harmful to a person's being, and anything that attempts to depreciate your value. So let's take it out of relationships, and from a world standpoint, how, Manar, in your life, your experiences, what you view today in 2020, how is the world toxic?
I think, okay, I'm going to say the world is toxic because I think there are moments where we are not allowed to think for ourselves. Okay, we are allowed, but we've gotten this motion of moving in like a herd instead of being individuals. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of times where you find yourself trying to keep up, or you're trying to live by somebody else's rules, and it's not the best for you. So you're causing harm. And I'm not the one to be like, oh, you're always the cause of your own problems. But a lot of times,
you definitely walk around with a mirror. We're not even about to sit up here on Beyonce's internet and act like Manar don't walk around with a mirror. Every time you tell her something wrong, she'd be like, but have you looked at yourself lately?
You feel me? Like, I might be the problem, but you might be part of the problem too.
That's real.
Yeah, I think it's toxic in that way. I think it's people aren't being individuals anymore. People aren't, thinking for themselves. The world is really like moving on this. You have to be a specific person to find success. You have to be a specific person to find love, or like.
Would you call that the poison? That's the poison.
I think mindsets are the poison. I think that's what it is. We're losing individuality. That's poisonous.
So as you define toxicity, the term toxic for A.Bevy, I feel like something you're saying, you're basically letting us know that we have a decision to let toxic into our lives or not. Like it's all based on us. It ain't got nothing to do with what's going on out here, whatever the enemy is talking about, whatever trials and tribulations that the world is throwing at us. We have a decision to have a mindset that's toxic or not.
I'm going to say it's not all based on the world and everybody around us, because at the end of the day, like, people have to be accountable for themselves and others. But I do think there's a big portion of it that you play a role in your own life. Like, you ultimately have the control. I'm not saying there's not other factors that play a part, but I feel like at the end of the day, you have the biggest role in your life. You wake up with yourself every day. You live with yourself. So what are you going to do about it? How are you going to move?
I'm gonna agree with that, but you know what? I'm gonna agree is that's the damage the toxicity caused. But toxicity is separately, poison is poison whether you touch it or not. That's just how I feel about it. The damage that comes from it, that's self. That's your decision. You see warning signs, you see poison, whatever it is. But like a venomous snake is venomous regardless. Whether he used it or not, he venomous. So
I can definitely agree to that. I do think just even, you know, growing up with Yaya, we've always had, this is the different mindsets that we've always had. Like, I'm always like a, do for yourself. Don't worry about what's going on over there person. So, yeah, I can see that though.
I definitely think that's dope. I think it's dope, and we appreciate you coming in to define toxic for us. And I think from a simpler standpoint, you definitely define it on I think a view that a lot of people aren't even willing to connect with. The idea that there are things out here that if I'm toxic, I allow it into myself. But from a viewpoint of like something small, like somebody who is filled with hatred, somebody who's evil, somebody who wants the worst for you. How do you deal with things like that that by your definition are toxic? How do you deal with those type of things that exist in the world?
I feel like if there's somebody, you know, in my space that I feel like is bringing me down, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a very like, I'm not gonna say forgiving, but I'm a very like chances person. Like, you know, maybe so and sudden change, or maybe they were going through a rough time. But at the end of the day, if you're bringing me down, you're depreciating my value? No, you gotta go. Like,
you gotta go.
There's not, and it's not like I'm just cut you off, you cold turkey, but I'm definitely gonna love you from afar. I'm definitely gonna, you know, have a little stiff arm on you for a second. Like, you can't come in here. This is positive energy. You
all right,
want to bring that to the table.
My last question.
I got one right after this too. I'll follow you.
Do you feel like every person has toxic behaviors or abilities in them? Is that part of human nature?
I think it's innate. I do. I think anyone has the ability to harm somebody else, whether they want to or not. I think you just have that ability. Whether that other person allows you that power over them or not, that's different. But I do think everyone has that ability.
Okay.
And my last question now, that if there's a government that has strategic goals to keep a certain group of people down, if there's a society who looks at Black people or minorities in general around the world and looks at them as less than, or if there's a culture that looks at women, makes things harder for them. By definition, they're toxic, by how I described them. How do you then deal with that as basically a part of our world that you can't just run from?
You can't control. Like, it's not a part of it's not in your control.
One, I'm gonna throw out the if, because all of that exists. That's happening right now. But I think it's two ways. I'm very big on combating things strategically too. Like, if the government is against you, find a way to get in the excuse me. I'm not even gonna say find a way to get in the government, but I just don't think the outside world should, I guess, poison your inner self. Like, you can be an angry person because this and this and this is going on, and you know, you want to stand up for your rights, and you're allowed that. You're allowed to be almost filled with hate, I'm gonna say. But I just feel like your inner spirit, soul, how you go on about your day-to-day life, I just choose not to allow that to bring me down.
She tells me, like, don't let the world taint you.
Right. Absolutely. Do not ever let the world taint you. You can fight the world and you can be angry about it while you're doing it. You're allowed that. But your spirit, I'm not going to let the world taint me.
Here we go. I think that's the best note to end on as far as how we're going to define it, because what we believe in over here is self-awareness, and we can make a decision to not only place ourselves in certain environments that'll help us change, progress, or grow, but we also have a mindset that says whatever challenge comes to us, we can then make a decision on how it affects us. And I think I took that from you. I don't know if I took it the wrong way or took it the right way,
No.
took it the left way or took it the straight way, but I appreciate, that definition you've given us.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank y'all for having me.
We're going to agree to disagree on some of this stuff, but I agree with toxicity. I agree. Thank you.
All right, big
y'all.
Bye.
It's on you, man. She hit it on the head. She hit it on the head as far as like
defining it.
Yeah.
But I think it's a gray area consistently on what applies and what doesn't. Like everything in life is situational. Everything in life, even things that have rules, you find ways that they're not fully followed consistently.
Absolutely.
And I'm excited to get our rest of our guests on this because I know, just based on the chat on the side, I know this is about to be what I need because let me tell you.
Yeah, we might be here longer than an hour because it's just, I think a lot of honesty is going to lead to like some answers.
Yeah. Because as far as that definition goes, I agree. But whether I allow you to poison me or not, you're still poisonous. And we just have to address that. You're still poisonous. That's just that on that.
It plays a factor. So before we let this next person in, I don't know if he's listening or not. You take over first, right? I want you to you go in as finite and specific as possible. Okay. And then I think I got some stuff that maybe to wrap up. If not, we'll take from there.
All right.
We the best live show possible, so we're gonna put that out before he jump on. But right now, we're gonna bring on a young guy, individual, a young man. I can't even say a guy who spins for us, our in-house DJ for post and pre A.Bevy Radio, and any DJing you need in general, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia. You should be hiring him in general. So right now we want to bring in one of the most honest people I know, a young man trying to grow, Mr. Tony Graham.
Woo! It's funny that you said the most honest person because I was sitting here thinking, is everyone who you ever encountered, would they think that as well?
Uh-oh.
It's all about perspective. It's all about perspective.
Nah, I'm the most honest person in the world.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. How y'all doing?
Good. I saw you was enjoying that. You felt like Manar was speaking up for y'all.
Oh, yeah. Facts. Everything she said was facts.
Here you go.
It's all about choices.
I think about choices, but like we just said, it's poisonous whether you touch it or not. Like we got to address that part. We can't address I think a lot of people want to talk about the harm instead of the core. I don't care if you hurt 60 people. It's their fault that they let you. But we can't say that you're not poisonous. Not you in particular. No attacks here. But I'm just saying we have to address it.
That's where the honesty comes in at, though. If I tell you day one that this is what you're going to get, this is who I am, then that's your choice.
Poisonous?
Yeah. No. If I tell you that I'm poisonous, why you going to question me?
If you tell me that you're poisonous, then you're admitting you're poisonous.
And some people, man, it just all depends.
If I tell you I'm a bite, then whether I bite you or not, I'm a bite. Like it is what it is. But I'm excited to have this talk with you because I feel like, in particularly to relationships, a lot of men, and I'm gonna say women too, but a lot of people think that honesty cancels out toxicity. It does not.
Nah, it don't at all. I tell you that right now, it don't at all. Like 0%.
Being honest does not make you and I think that's what I keep wanting to beat on your head. Telling me you're poisonous does not make you less poisonous. I'm gonna still die.
But it's still your choice.
But if I die, it's not your fault.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's your choice.
But
you can't get upset at me for being.
But you agree that you're poisonous, like that.
But you can't get upset with me for me being myself.
Again, we're talking about reactions.
Tell me this: what's worse? Like you just said earlier, she said that everybody has some toxic problems with them. So you telling me I am who's worse, the person who tells you from day one they're toxic, or once you get into a relationship with them and then they reveal then you see how toxic they are?
But now you're adding more aspects to the equation. Now we're measuring toxicity as in who's worse. But I'm just trying to get people, before we can start measuring toxicity, like we said in this episode, we got to admit that it's there.
Oh yeah, it's there. It's definitely there.
I can admit my toxic trait. You know how that's what they say on Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter, they ask, "What's your toxic trait?" My toxic trait is I'm a runner, and I justify that with, if I'm not getting what I want, God don't want me to settle. Let me get on through. So it's not out of fear, but you know what I'm saying? Like, but my toxic trait is I'm quick to, you know, you watch Everybody Hates Chris when she be like, I don't need this. My man got 2 jobs.
Yeah.
That's my theory in every single life. Job, school, people. It's like, I know that's my toxic trait. But my toxic trait, I think this is where it gets weird. It affects other people, but it affects me more. Right? So what would your toxic trait be?
My toxic trait is that I give you me from day one. You know what I'm saying? I give you me from day one. And then I know like it takes, like you gotta throw logic out. Like especially when it comes to dealing with me, you gotta throw logic out. So my toxic trait is I give you all of me day one. Like I give you like who I am day one. And then like most people, like 90% of people can't do that. Like they need to adjust and then become comfortable with you, But by the time you get comfortable with me, whether it's 2 months, 3 months, 5 months down the road, I'm like, why you couldn't do this from the beginning? So now I'm just like, I'm cool on you.
So your toxic trait is you like the chase.
Yeah.
Real quick. I'm not trying to jump in, but our definition of toxic for the day, right? But all of us are claiming we have toxic traits. Anything related to or caused by poison, which in that instance, what we're talking about now, that means we have poison within us that we're laying out. Anything that's harmful to a person's being, meaning what we have within us is harming someone else. And anything that attempts to depreciate your value, meaning we can make actions that actually don't even align to the value that the person or thing
set for
trying to appreciate. You know, it doesn't even align to that. So y'all keep going. Appreciate your honesty, Tonto. Let's keep going. I'm here. I'm
here too, bro.
So based on your, elongated definition or explanation, your toxic trait is you enjoy the chase. Because when a person matches your relax, you off of it.
Yeah, facts. It's just like, why you just ain't do this from the beginning? I just feel like people, me personally, like I said, you gotta remember to throw logic out. You gotta throw logic out. You gotta
even with what you just said. So she relaxes after 2 months, and you're like, why you ain't just do this in the beginning? And right? So why you ain't leave before she relaxed? Why was the period of her not being herself?
Oh, because I'm gonna make you love me.
See, you like the chase. Thank you for admitting it. That's all.
I'm gonna make you love me. Like you gonna love me by the time I'm done. Like you gonna love me. There's no question about it.
Well, why?
Why I'm gonna make you love me? Oh, because like I'm a great person. I think I'm a great guy.
that toxicity is fuming off my computer, okay? And it's all love, but it's a sense of I'm gonna make you love me because I need validation that I'm that, and I'm that nigga. I'm that lovable. And the fact that you didn't love me from the beginning, you wanted me to question myself, but now that I got you to love me, thanks for affirming. On to the next.
Yeah, facts, because you should have just believed me in the beginning.
So now I'm working to prove you wrong.
No, I wouldn't necessarily say working. I wasn't working. It ain't like I just
going to prove to you that I am worthy of your love.
Yeah.
And when you finally open up and let me have it, bored.
I wouldn't necessarily say bored. It's just like, damn. It's like, damn, why you couldn't just do this from the beginning, bro? Like we could have had so much more fun.
But you know that Honestly, out of everything that's toxic, that's probably the most toxic statement. Because you truly believe that. You would not have had fun if she was open from the beginning.
Yes, I would.
No, you wouldn't. Now that she finally let you in.
I don't think so.
Now that she finally let you in, you're holding on to something that happened 2 months ago.
You had nothing to work for.
Hold on to everything.
Oh.
Y'all think it was logic.
No, it's not about logic. It's about a sense. You talked about the external effects of this toxicity. You talked about what it looks like. Not once did you talk about what it feels like to you internally.
Oh, because to me internally, like I said from the beginning, let's say y'all start talking to somebody. I'm gonna tell you up front that I don't want a girlfriend at all. Like I'm gonna tell you that I don't want a girlfriend.
Why is that though?
Well, I explained this earlier today, but me personally, I don't want a girlfriend. It's like, I don't think you guys will understand it, but for myself, I understand it. All right, if I find like a woman, you know, that likes me, loves me, I feel like I'm gonna get complacent with that. And it was like, why do I need to better myself when she loves me? Like, I'm cool. The reason why I do that, I have no idea. But that's just how I feel.
You feel like I feel like you're putting more emphasis on the title because do you feel like Actually, you know what? That's perfect. What you just said is perfect. You feel like if you find someone who loves you exactly as you are, you're gonna become complacent.
Yeah.
So the act of pursuing these people is like working out to you. It's like, oh, stay on my toes. And as soon as it becomes equilibrium, as soon as you ran up that hill, you're like, need another hill.
Yeah, facts. Like you explained it perfect. Like that's exactly who I am. Like I get to a point. Bryant knows this. He knows my personal life. I get to a point, and I get to a certain point with somebody, and then it's like, all right, what's the next challenge?
Let me tell you my other toxic trait. My toxic trait is trying to fix people when that's just really how you are. You know what I'm saying?
Say that one more time.
Trying to fix people when it's really that's just you. So accepting that everybody does not need compatibility, that everybody does not. Now, I don't agree with, I guess, your maneuver in relationships because it could, as much as it may not be harmful to you, it's harmful to somebody else, whether you told them from the beginning or not. You know what I'm saying? So although you can move on with your life regularly, there is someone out there and you are the villain. Like you are the peak of why they are the way they are. And we're going to jump into that series that, next month. But it's like, you are the reason why they treat their friends this way. You are, so that I don't agree with. But the not settling down, I'm learning to be okay with not sitting here and being like, Tony, do you have commitment issues? Do you need a hug? Is that like, I'm learning that there are literally 50, 40, 60-year-old men and women who are constantly okay with the chase. Like, that's just your lifestyle. The issue is you need to find someone who's okay with that lifestyle too. Not someone who likes commitment and turn them. That's where the toxicity actually becomes like what Manar was saying. That person needs to know that they're walking into a room full of poison. Period.
But my thing is, as far as them, like you said, taking somebody who loves commitment, who wants commitment, and then me just being with the chase. My thing is, and I don't just say this from day one. I say this from the beginning. I say, if you want to leave, you can leave.
Everybody knows that.
But my thing is, it's my fault. I'm
the slave masters. It's not about having that. Obviously I could leave, but it's something about that mental breakdown that causes someone not to leave. It's something about the love that you're giving them, whether you call it love or not. So
because nobody want to make choices no more. People don't want to make choices. They don't want to make choices because they feel like they're gonna feel bad for making that choice.
Yeah.
If
but you just jump in because
like you gonna feel bad for making that choice.
We're looking at something that's a lot, and we can, we schedule next month. And I think we can dive into a lot of the topics that we've addressed today from a broader standpoint. Because my connection with Tony, it comes from that honesty. And so my question is, out the gate, where do you believe, which you mentioned earlier, where do you believe this toxic trait stemmed from?
me being complacent, and then me what Ayat said, I'm the villain in somebody's story, and you don't know you're the villain until you're told you're the villain. And then once, depending on who that person is that's telling you the story, you don't know how they feel. And then once they tell you the story and you see how they feel, and you're trying to imagine yourself like, I never meant, like you tell yourself, I never meant to make you like do you any harm. But once they tell you that story, then it's like, damn, I got to do something. And so it's trying to, now it's more on me trying to prove to the next woman that I'm getting there. I'm working on it. I'm a way better man. I'm not here to try to hurt you. I just don't want a girlfriend right now.
Okay, so I think that doesn't answer Bryant's question. I think that answers Bryant. That answers why you became more honest.
It's cool. All we got to do is keep going. We just keep going and say, so why?
Yeah, because
why?
That's why you became honest. You became honest because you found out you was the villain.
Yeah.
So why are you the villain? Why are you scared of complacency?
The real reason, I have no idea why. I don't know, man. It ain't even got anything to do with relationships. It's just like the life.
Oh, we know it has nothing to do with relationships.
Yeah. It's just the life.
It's nothing wrong with not knowing either. So
yeah, I have an uncle. It's not nothing to do with relationships. I have two uncles, and they still stay at like my grandma and granddaddy house, and they like in their mid-40s, like one about to be 50 type.
You're gonna love our next series, because when I tell you everything in your life stems from trauma.
Yeah.
And that's another word that's another word that could be overused, but I think it's used perfectly.
Yeah. And so both of them, like they still like, one stay like it's a 2-bedroom house. One stay in the living room, one stay in his room. And like one of my uncles, like he has this woman. It's like it's his lady. But he won't like commit to her. They have a child. She getting ready to graduate from Clemson. She has a child. He won't get married to her. They won't move in together. They won't do anything type. And then I got my other uncle, and he just had 2 kids, like fresh 2 kids. Like I send you a picture right now, you can be like, Tony, them your kids. Like, so it's just like I don't want to be that. So I want to wait until I got everything that I feel like I need to get done, be done. And then maybe not saying this 100% given, but probably then I'll commit.
I don't go too deep into it, but that also sounds like you feel like you're not worthy of that level yet.
Oh,
you
yeah.
Feel like you're not worthy of someone to love you at your current state and to push you to the next state. You feel like you're not, I'm good enough for a good time. I'm good enough to hold you down. I'm a great friend. We talk about this all the time. I'm a great friend. I'm a loyal friend, but I'm not worthy of love, because if I give her this at this level and she gives it back to me, then we're going to be stuck here forever.
Facts.
And now we got to, we'll dig deeper, figuring out the why. Like, why do you feel unworthy? Because that's what it is.
Oh, yeah. I didn't heard that before. Yeah.
Well, you are worthy, okay, Tony?
Not without a haircut, I'm not.
But you are, and I think that's something a lot of young Black men struggle with, especially when you come. Oh, don't lift it. I was.
I'm gonna take it off for the joint.
But I feel like a lot of young Black men suffer of that syndrome, especially when you don't come from a 2-parent household. You don't come from successful lineage. You know what I'm saying? You're not you're first generation. We create these checklists that women are more flexible with, which we shouldn't be. But y'all create these checklists of, I got to do this before I settle down, because I don't want to be like the niggas back home. I don't want to be like my daddy. I don't want to be like you create this super strict, you say you don't want to move with logic, but that list is illogical, because on one hand, life is too short. We could die tomorrow. Yep. On the other hand, I got to make sure I have $50K in the account before I get here. You know what I'm saying? So we have to find a way to mesh them together in order to, you know, minimize the toxicity, because it ain't gonna go away. Minimize it.
People don't want to take chances, man. That's all it is.
You want people. You talk about people.
Yeah, I don't want to take chances. That's what I'm saying. That's where it comes from. I don't want to take chances, man.
So a question, one of my last questions is, what happens if a significant other, relationship-wise, comes up and disproves you as far as like the attitude that we formulated? Like what happens if she comes up and shows you that you can be more, shows you that you're worthy of being loved? How do you then treat her?
Oh, that's my little baby. Yeah.
He pushes her away. I'm gonna answer that for you.
No, I don't push her away.
I'm not ready for you right now, and you're gonna push. She gonna be your little baby, but you're not gonna wife her because you're not that self-worth.
Nah, it's nothing like that. It's nothing like that.
What's your answer?
If you have the mentality that I'm gonna push you and do this, like I say, other than like a handful of, like some women I dealt with, they just like sit in the background and wait for me to say something. That's why I say people don't make choices. Like you wait until I say something and then you want to say something. But all right, but I think like men fall in love with women that's like their mothers. Like that, I think that applies to me. Like my mama pushed me, still pushes me. So a woman that pushes me, I don't know, I probably fall in love again. Because it's happened before. A woman pushed me, I fell in love with her, and that's it. Like, I'm not pushing you to the side or anything like that. Now, my actions, as far as like me being a man, that might push you to the side. But like, as far as like me and you in a relationship, like you are my lady.
We call that self-sabotage.
My girl likes to sabotage. Love, yeah. She can only take so much more in her heart, God. She can only live for the moment. Why? I never know it. Guess I'll meet her right back at start. We're gonna drop this toxic playlist after this.
And you know that's a toxic individual. But no, we call that self-sabotage. But there's layers to that. There's multiple layers to that. We may definitely invite you back on the show when we talk about what fuels you, because we need to dive deeper into this for sure.
That's me.
I think our next month is going to be follow-ups as far as like more precise, more specific topics to things that y'all have witnessed this month. So Tony Tonto or Tony Graham, we appreciate your honesty.
Thank you.
Dive deeper into it. And we thank you for checking in today. We thank you for acknowledging that everyone has toxic traits.
Yeah.
Also acknowledging that you know how it affects the people that you deal with.
Yeah, facts. Hey, in future, definitely not toxic at all. He a crybaby.
Oh, again, you could be multiple things. Again.
My man, not toxic. He said Lori Harvey name 20 times in his album.
You could be simp and toxic.
I didn't even hear what my man said. He said,
give me glory, give me Lori, give me victory.
Boy, you could be multiple things, and I think we need to stop thinking that human beings are not multidimensional. And then
Drake toxic.
He is toxic. I agree.
That should be the toxic king. Every album since Take Care, he been calling out a woman who moved on with her life. That's toxic. If you move on with your life if you moved on with your life and I'm the biggest thing out and I keep calling your name, saying, "Ooh, I miss the times we had."
Again, you think it got to be one or the other. It's okay. We're gonna talk. We're gonna work on you.
All of that, man. We love you, Tonto. You know you check out
too.
Thank you.
That'll be easy.
Man, there's so many ways we can go with this, man. Toxicity is a real thing, even by the definition that we've given it, to where it kind of just mirrors the idea of like, what are the flaws within ourselves that are affecting others?
Yeah, I think everyone's biggest issue is, well, she's worse. It's like that's it. Toxic. You toxic. Just take it. Just now. Future is toxic. There are more toxic people. There are less toxic people. He's also emotional. You can still be toxic. Like, it's okay.
Yeah. You're looking at it.
I'm excited to get our next.
Absolutely, we got to bring her on. Looking at Future's tweets, it was a tweet that was recently. I thought I had the screenshot, but it was like, don't get drunk and tell an ugly girl.
Treat an ugly girl like a pretty girl.
Treat an ugly girl like a pretty girl. And so, just that mindset at whatever age. What I like to look into the future for a future episode is just to look at the idea of maturity and how toxicity can align with immaturity or maturity. And I'm not here to gauge anybody as mature or immature, but there has to be some type of level.
You know what? I feel like maturity masks toxicity. I'd rather an immature person be toxic than a mature person. Because a mature person who's toxic, they're gonna gaslight you. You're gonna be questioning. Like, that's when manipulation taps in. Not the obvious manipulation, but you just realize my favorite color ain't even blue. This nigga been buying me blue shit for 6 years, and now I tell him, you know what I'm saying? I think maturity masks toxicity. It doesn't change it or reduce it. I think it definitely masks it.
Yeah. And there's so many ways we can go, whether it be Tony's story, whether we bring Manar back up and ask her what she's going through. We can go into like insecure. We can go into how to get away with murder just ended, and looking at Annalise, all she went through. We can bring up books. We can bring up artists. We can bring up anything in pop culture. But I think to wrap up, the best thing to bring up is like our lives. Like, what have we been through? What do we know? How are we toxic? And what does that mean about us?
Ooh, what does it say about me?
And I think our last guest can help us with that, with more honesty, because this is A.Bevy Radio. All we do is honest. So right now we want to bring to the stage Miss Domonica.
Hello. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Perfectly.
How are y'all? How's everything? This conversation has been like really, really good. I didn't know what to expect, but it's been really good. So
it's wild because at the end of the day, even when we started this live stream or podcast or whatever you want to call it, it's become like a therapy session.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be the guests or whoever watches it, our goal is for it to be therapy.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make therapy cool. We want to make self-awareness cool. And so you coming on out the gate, we want to ask you, how are you? Like, tell us about yourself. Tell us what you do as far as making people more self-aware.
So I am a mental health professional. So I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. And I work with families and children. And so what I do is really just try to look at relational dynamics and help people break those issues down. And I think parts of it are layers of mental health. And then what I'm learning, because 80 to 90% of my clients are people of color, is that a lot has to do with trauma. So I'm more of a cognitively based clinician. And so a lot of my focus is like realizing behaviors and thoughts and emotions. And I just really feel like having a light on self-awareness can, shift your relationship dynamics, shift your behaviors, and then get you the life that you want.
Shifts your life. Once you know why you do what you do, it shifts your life. But I just want to know, she said license.
Yeah. LISC.
Credentials.
SED.
Credentials. I just want to know that. Credentials.
The credentials.
Yeah. Well, really, Yaya, hats off to you because you were speaking all facts. Loved all of it.
I just be wanting to walk around and diagnose people. I just be wanting to let them know there's a reason. Like even you saying trauma, I'm just excited to learn more because you don't do things because you want to. Like an infant maybe, but even them, they learn stuff. So the fact that we're late 20s, about to be 30 somethings, I just want you to know that don't think you're that much of an individual. Something altered that behavior. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it comes to, like you said, trauma and toxicity.
Right. Yeah.
Ooh.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think something that stood out to me was a comment that Tony made. He said something about being the way he is, and it's not even about relationships. And that's absolutely false. Like, people assume that when we say relationships, we mean romantic, but like the fact that we're humans, we're wired to connect. So something somewhere taught you about connection. And that's really that's what all of this is about. If you're not connecting, if you're not feeling like you're worth love or worth belonging, then something is miswired, and then you have your toxic trait.
Oof. And that's how you cook it up.
Yeah.
And that's how it's cooked. Point blank. I use the word abandonment a lot because I always think like, oh, you have abandonment issues. Oh, and in college, sounds really bad, but in college, she got daddy issues was like thrown around a lot, like it was immediate, like, oh, she got daddy issues. And I recently read something that said it's daddy issues, but it's not because it's a bad example. I've seen great examples, and now you're not adding up to it. So or the idea of, I don't want a man like my dad. I'm running. I end up with someone just like him. Again,
right.
Unconscious decisions, like you said, belonging, connectivity. So I didn't even catch that with Tony. It is relationship based, point blank, period.
Yeah,
that's real. So I think with you, we want to dive into. You can interject however you want to, but I want to give you some personal stuff, and I think Ayat, she may. If not, we'll give you some questions and ideas. But just piggybacking off of Tony. I'm trying to get serious. It don't take too much. But as a young Black man, I'm 30, so I can't even say I'm young. But even the idea of like, okay, I'm grown now. I have to be grown now. I have to be mature. I have to have it all together. When we talk about toxicity, the idea that, what we don't have together can affect somebody else. It has affected me to the point where it's like I second, triple, quadruple, plus, like judge what I'm doing in life. Like I look at it and say, am I doing the right thing? And that's not even considering like what the world, as far as worldly things, are telling me what's right and what's wrong. So as a young Black man, not taken away from anybody else who experiences things, no matter what you identify yourself as, but growing up without a father, growing up with my grandfather, and then growing up around a lot of young men, a lot of younger men who were like experienced, and then growing up around a lot of old men who were like fugazi, who were like crazy and cheating on their wives and doing all this extra stuff. I grew up and it was like, okay, what is a man supposed to be? And so I asked you my first question, just off the top, like, how does society play a part in the development of a Black male psyche when it comes to toxicity and maturity and being a good man and living a life of fulfillment? Like, how does the world really even, it affects us in a certain way. So from your viewpoint, how does it?
That's a heavy question for the first one. Just want to let you know. You wouldn't be you if it wasn't that way. No, but on a more serious note, so just a quick little background. So I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, but I sometimes say that that's a bit of a misnomer because we really just look at systems. And so that's really how I view all of my clients. You're a system within a system within a system. So when you think about the African American community and how a lot of fathers aren't present, you're already in a system that's broken, so to speak. You're missing a lot of role models, expectations, guidelines that you need. And then you layer on another system of society telling you what you should be. So what happens is you get conflicting messages in your head of what I should be, what I need to be. And then that challenges self-worth. And so that's how these ideas of toxicity exist. You have two conflicting, competing ideas of what you are. Yeah. And your community, Black men are great. We love them, but they're not here. They're not around. They didn't stay. They didn't support us. That's conflicting.
Or
And then
when they are there,
right.
Mhm.
And so, and then you have America thinking black men are scary. They're no good. They're thugs. They're all of these things. So it's constantly conflicting messages. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I feel like a lot of times when I do see black men, I don't know who I want to be. I don't know what do I model after? What do I look at? You know, I have a mom who was great, who taught me this, but she's a woman. Like, who helps me understand what I'm going through? And so it's like a constant battle of then needing to measure up and show I'm man enough, I'm strong enough, I'm brave enough. So again, back to self-worth. And I think that's like a large part from me and what I've seen when it comes to realizing what those traits are, your negative behaviors, is because your self-worth, you don't believe that you're worthy of whatever it is, fill in the blank, worthy of love, worthy of respect, worthy of whatever it is. So yeah, I kind of went off on a tangent.
What we got? Monica, cut your down.
Say it one more time, cut my volume down.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like that definitely makes so much more sense. And then you have the aspect of not even wanting to talk about just relationships, but then, like you said, you have this great mom who teaches you things, but then she also teaches you what women accept and don't accept.
Right.
The men that she brings around, whether occupationally you either want to be like them or you're like, no, a woman shouldn't accept that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That keeps coming up of, do you split bills? Do you not split bills? Like all these ideologies, society is constantly telling you what to do as a person. Yeah. And then when Bryant says something, I always get on him. He said world views. I like to say American views, because a young black man in Sudan is being taught totally different things versus a young black man here. Then you have a young black man in Europe is being taught totally different things than the person here. You know what I'm saying? Like those societies, those systems you talked about, you belong to so many different systems. But then I don't think that we know as individuals, there's no right way or wrong way of doing things. So we're constantly trying to figure out what's the perfect way I could be. Ryan, you look like you in deep thought.
I mean, that's what it is. I'm building a house, building a marriage, building a family, building a future. So it's at the end of the day, I'm looking at the things I've been through in my past and saying, you know, how is it affecting? Because if I look at the definition we allotted, we're saying anything related to it caused by poison. So in that, as an aspect, as a mature man, you're saying what is poisonous from our past, how can I eliminate it? Anything that's harmful to a person's being, again, anything what I say, I do, how can I eliminate that so I don't harm anybody, specifically my wife, my family, and our surroundings, and anything that attempts to depreciate your value. And I think that third one is not just on the family aspect of like the wife or the house or the kids that's coming in the future, anything like that. It's like when it comes to depreciate your value, you look in the mirror and look at yourself. Like you can be toxic for yourself and say, what I've experienced in the past is making me look at myself as less than I can be. And so I think not just me at a certain level, I think there are other young men that are younger than me, older than me, who look at themselves and say, I'm less than because of the things that are around me. And so now you're being toxic to yourself. I don't know what to say to that. And so I'm glad you're here for that.
I have a question as far as it goes, because I feel like Black women have had a head start on mental health. We've had a more of a self-awareness, like a mirror to ourselves. And part of it goes to how society, like you hear all these things and then you get to see something I kind of joke around about, but not really, is I always said if I get pregnant with a son, I'm probably going to cry because it's scary.
Yeah.
No disrespect to any man in my life, but I've never seen a Black man raised perfectly from start to finish. I don't have a many Black male role models that I could be like, oh, if my son doesn't turn out just like they dad, there's this. Versus women, there are at least 30 women. If my daughter turns out like them, I'm perfectly fine. So when we think about that, how are the systems working against Black women as far as it goes, like mental health wise and their toxicity? Because we could be very toxic.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Black women toxicity, I don't want to blame us, but it affects men, whether it's mother to son, sister, brother, girlfriend, wife, whatever it is. I think all of that feeds into the toxicity. And then oftentimes these toxic ass men have daughters, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, my daughter's a woman. So that means every woman in your life has failed. That's what I get from it. So like, how are these systems working against Black women, and how we can try to unpack that?
Yeah. So if I think I'm hearing you correct, your question is, as Black women, we're advancing as it pertains to mental health, and we're becoming more self-aware. Yeah. And how are we then experiencing barriers or challenges because of our foot ahead, so to speak, right? So I think, honestly, I think it feeds into like the strong Black woman complex, that we have to always have our stuff together, and we have to always be strong and be aware and check our behavior, check our thought. And I think that goes against self-awareness, to be honest. It goes against being vulnerable. It goes against, and I wouldn't even say eliminating, you said eliminating toxicity, but it goes against all of that. Because if you're trying to be a self-aware so you can be better and be perfect and be put together, that's problematic, right? Because the point of it is not to eliminate it, it's to acknowledge it and say, hey, like, my toxicity is in the room with me. How can I have a relationship with it so it doesn't impact me negatively and impact the people around me negatively? So I think, and I've had that issue myself. I feel like it fuels you to want to be perfect. Like, oh, now that I know that this is my area of weakness and that I need to grow, what are all the action steps that I can do to then fix it? Instead of just sitting in it and saying, like, this is me. This is something that I deal with. And how can I just be more compassionate and empathetic with myself?
I'm glad you said that. I've heard that a lot. I suffer from anxiety. And I've heard that a lot, you can't get rid of anxiety. You need to be able to have a conversation with anxiety in the room with you. Like, okay, sis, we about to do this. I know you got backed up, but being able to have that conversation. So being able to have that conversation with toxicity instead of eliminating it. That's very powerful.
Yeah, because maybe that's your toxic trait, that you're anxious. I'm anxious too. So that takes me down a rabbit hole of all these things that's going on. Now I gotta accuse you or come at you, or now I have to be defensive to hold my position.
How to control it, like,
right?
The situation.
Exactly. But I just have to tell myself, like, I can't control the situation. I don't know what's going on. You slow yourself down and really just have more empathy and compassion for yourself. And I think that's what we need to look at as a people. Like, how can we empathize with one another? Yes. But like, I think the core for all of this, I think I already said it, is just vulnerability. That's the measure of toxicity for me. Your willingness to be vulnerable. Can you sit in that space with yourself? Can you sit in that space with your partner and be vulnerable? Because the moment that you aren't vulnerable, defenses go up. And all these different things happen. We're not getting into the problem. We're not getting to the core, and we're not making ourselves better.
Now you're reacting.
Yep.
I do have, like, when we talk about self-worth, as far as toxicity, when it comes to Black men and Black women, and this is something that I've been trying to do more research on. Black women, we measure our worth with accomplishments. That's why we're leading in education. We rack up degrees. Black men do, and it's like, what do Black men measure their self-worth? Is it women? Is it being desired? Because Black women, that whole strong Black woman, you immediately, not taking anything away, because, okay, if I get doctor in front of my name, y'all gonna hear it. But it's that we're measuring ourselves with, like, oh, he cheated on me? Let me tell you how good I am. Like, let me look at my credentials. So that's how we measure our self-worth, which is sadly toxic. Because it's not about you as a person anymore. It's about what you bring to the table. Bryant, this could be for you too. Like, how do you feel like you struggle with like that whole self-worth. What do you measure yours with? How do you make other people feel? How secure? Because as Black men, you're told to be providers. You're told to be head of the household, even in 2020. And I mean, not bringing races into it, but white men are not head of the household at certain tax brackets. That's not something that they're pushing onto them. If you're making you know what I'm saying? It's not constantly pushed on them. So for you, how do you feel like you as a person or Black men as a whole measure self-worth?
I mean, I think something me and my fiance talked about a couple of weeks ago was the idea of like words of affirmation, which came from the love language conversation. And I think even with me, not even talking to other guys, especially Black guys, minority guys, I think words of affirmation is heavy as far as men in general, because it kind of tells us that what we're doing is the right thing because we come from a place where we don't know what the right thing is. I think even when what we talk about, like when A.Bevy started, like when A.Bevy started at USC, it was kind of like a flood of, here go some shirts. And if you like the shirt, then we good. Like, and the shirts took over. Not even the idea of like what I've been through or whatever, but those shirts represented an affirmation that when I had like the change, progression, growth on it, when I had like the idea of, okay, we're trying to do something different. I don't know what I would do without the actions of other people confirming that what I believed in and what I sought after and what I wanted to do and what I saw as my future. I don't know what I would do if they didn't tell me in some action that it was the right thing. And us creating an organization that's based off of self-awareness, like looking in the mirror and believing in yourself, I know that's contradicting, but at the same time, that's really the basis of it all. Like I let A.Bevy go until I did the Why Are You Alive tour. Stood in front of whether it be three individuals or 120 individuals, and they were like, "No, A.Bevy makes sense," and that's what took my life to the next level. When I got back in a relationship with my fiance, it was okay. So you do believe in me. So now we can go higher. And so I really don't even know what the other side looks like. I don't know if I answered your question, but I don't even know what the other side looks like as far as like.
But it's measured, and it sounds bad because it's for me, I struggle with that too. But like for you, your self-worth was still measured by other people.
Yeah.
Like it still was measured by other people's confirmation for you.
Definitely.
Yeah. We need to work on it.
And we go deep now. I start crying here now.
Work on that. Right. But I definitely, like, as a whole, toxicity, whether it affects other people or not, it could still exist. Like it could live in a room by itself. That's it. Like whether you hurt anybody in your life or whether you're in self-isolation in jail, if you toxic, like you still have to deal with those things. And I think a lot of times we deal with how it affects others. We deal with the damage it causes others. Oh, my mouth's slick. That's my toxic trait. Okay, I'll stop talking to people, but I'm still thinking those bad thoughts. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So dealing with it and how it harms us instead of how it harms others may be our first step.
Definitely. And so with that, DeMonica, I think a question I have for you, outside of the fact that you might get a call for next week or, you know, or next month.
Because when we talk about trauma, honey, we need
we tap into trauma. We let toxicity go for a little bit, but toxicity aligns into everything we're saying. So for you, we started off with the idea with the great Manar saying that we have some type of control. We definitely have some control over how toxicity affects us. So what advice would you give someone who recognizes, first question, what advice would you give someone who recognizes that they're toxic themselves?
I mean, what advice would I give them? I don't know. I always feel like acknowledgement is the first step. So the fact that you can acknowledge that you're toxic, I think my advice would be to give yourself some grace. Like, I'm at level 1, you know, and I know that sounds really odd, but I don't think you should acknowledge it, jump in and say, okay, let me fix myself because I'm just so broken. Like, take a step, acknowledge it, and then be like, all right, I'm able to acknowledge it. What next? Next advice, get you a good therapist. That's why I'm here. Get you a good therapist. You've acknowledged it, get you a good therapist who can really unpack it with you and identify like how, like Ayat said, how it's impacting you, but your relationships. And then get some steps in place of what you need to not eliminate it, but to work with it. So yeah, those are the two things that I would say.
I do want to say, a lot of times mental health, to me, like I want to use that example. It's not like when you get a cold, because when you get a cold, you can go to the store and buy your own medicine.
Mm-hmm.
It's cancer.
Ooh,
They don't have over-the-counter medicine for it. You have to go to the person who can be in charge of it. And that's something that it took me a long time before I went to therapy, because I was like, oh, let me tell you what's wrong with me. Self-diagnosed. And then since I'm self-diagnosed, I'll try this and I'll try that. Kind of like, okay, I'm sneezing. Is it allergies? Let me buy some Zyrtec. Oh, it's not that. Let me go buy some Benadryl. Like it's not a cold that you can go to the store and just get what you want from it. Mm-hmm. It's cancer. It's a broken arm. You have to go to the special physician for that. Mm-hmm. Your mental health. You cannot. Right. If you self-diagnose, good job, but you can't self-heal.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I like that. And I think too, you can't go to the store and just get a quick fix. Like, this is continuous. It's ongoing. And every stage of life that you hit, it might come up again, because this is a new stage. This is something different that I have to work through. And now my toxicity is coming back because I've lived with it. But now I have to deal with it now that I have kids, and I've never had kids before.
Let me hurt some feelings a little bit. She said it's not a quick fix, okay? Self-care Sunday won't solve it. Self-care Saturday won't solve it. Putting on a mask and loving on yourself won't solve it. It'll tame it. It'll definitely tame it. I'm guilty of that. I wake up Monday morning feeling... But like you said, another chapter or something else will happen and it'll flame back up.
Right.
Absolutely. That's it. Brian, what you got to say? He over there like you.
I'm good, man. I got stuck in like the thought process of my last question. So I just appreciate the Monica coming through. And I definitely want to see you back next week. Next week, we want to dive a little deeper into trauma as far as relationships, where it comes from. So we'll definitely be reaching out to you about that.
Sure.
Okay.
Other than that, I guess a question or just some advice, straight to the point, for someone in a relationship, in a world, when they look in the mirror, if they're dealing with a toxic behavior, when they're dealing with toxicity, what's some advice you can give someone who is like, it's from the outside and it's affecting them, and whether they know it or not?
So they have a toxic trait, but they don't realize it.
No, something on the outside is toxic. What's an advice you can give somebody who is dealing with that?
Outside things coming in.
That's toxic. Extra toxic. Real toxic. Okay.
Yeah. I think first for me, and just kind of reflecting on like my clients and then just myself, is I think first you have to know your own worth and your own value, because the more you know that, you can block. It's going to still come through, but you can block it and filter it a little bit better. So I think you really have to look within and know your worth and your value and speak that on yourself. Like, I know this about me. This is what's true about DeMonica, and I'm not going to let the world change that. So that's what I would say. You have to know your worth. You have to know your values, but that could be hard. So if you don't know that, get you a good therapist who can help you get there.
Definitely
help you get there, yeah. Because everybody may not know that. So that's first, and they're going to help you explore.
Thank you. I want to piggyback on that question, but make it a little bit more specific, because I feel like a lot of times we feel like the solution is remove yourself. I like your reiteration. You can't heal your parents.
Mm-mm.
Okay. We can't. I mean, some of us can, but we can't. So when the toxicity is coming from someone that you love, that is a parent or someone in the household or a grandparent, how do you try not to absorb that?
Ooh, now I understand you better. Okay. So one thing that I teach my clients is like boundaries and being able to set and maintain boundaries. That's the biggest thing that I always teach my clients. And that's just because those people in your life are toxic, and it's easy to say cut them off. But if it's your parent or your sibling, you may not want to do that. So you have to form boundaries, and then you have to have a megaphone or a box to be able to say, these are my boundaries and this is how I'm maintaining them. And I think you made a good point of like, just because people have certain issues, they may not want to fix them.
Yeah.
So acknowledging like, this is how you are, and that's okay. But I cannot accept X, Y, Z. That's my boundary. So just know if you come in the room and you're being negative, I'm going to remove myself. We can still have a relationship. I still love you. I still want to hang out, kick it, talk. But that's my boundary for me to protect my mental health.
Boundaries. That's what we
Yeah, boundaries.
Because that's my biggest thing. Is like, I know sometimes the person who's toxic to you, especially after going to therapy, you start unpacking stuff and it hits a roadblock because you can't cut off certain people.
Mm-hmm.
So, but just creating that boundary and saying, hey, I'm working on me. Even if you don't want to work on you.
Right.
Don't come in here. And you know what? Tabitha Brown says that so well.
Mm-hmm.
She says
I love her.
well. So she says, have a great day. But even if you're not having a good one, don't you go messing up somebody else's. And I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Who we appreciate you.
Yeah. This was good. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We'll definitely be, in touch as far as whether it be something we can do live in the future whenever they come back around, or we're going to continue to give out this digital self-awareness, these digital lessons, this digital therapy. And we appreciate you for checking in with us.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Much love to Monica.
Woo.
Thank you.
How you feel? You feel diagnosed?
I'm about to go ahead, stare at the wall and be like, hopefully the wall turns into a mirror. I might go to the mirror and just be like, straight up, as far as the therapy we're giving, like, what does it mean about us? Because toxic, by definition, again, just looking at this definition, anything related to or caused by poison, that's something that we've all experienced.
We've all experienced poison.
It's in us. Anything that's harmful to a person's being. And so if that poison is there, it's going to affect others. And anything that attempts to depreciate your value. And not only just the people we encounter, but just ourselves. Like, how is that depreciating ourselves? And
I feel like you gotta peel back what you were looking for when you say toxicity, because anything that damages your being. I don't drink, but I feel like when friends are encouraging you to do that a lot and you're doing that a lot, that's damaging something in your being.
Yeah.
You're encouraged to do things that are not good for your soul. Like, it's definitely layered.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot. And I think this event, A.Bevy Radio is here for us to, go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. I don't even think there's like it gets so shallow. Even when you go deep, it's like there's so much more in depth that we can go. So I'm here for it.
I appreciate you for, this is it. I love it. I knew today was gonna be good.
Yeah, and I appreciate it.
I've been real toxic this week. I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. Okay.
I'm scared of next week. So if anybody's listening now, I'm scared of next week. We're gonna dive into trauma.
Oh yeah, and how trauma fuels you. So I need y'all tuned in. How trauma, how it fuels the person that you are. It'll
be episode 1 of a series. So we know we can't tackle that in one episode. So make sure you stay tuned for that. So again, to wrap this thing up, we want to bring some art into your life. Ayat, if you want to go first, let them know what you got.
I consistently keep having books because I'm not a DJ and, I'm never going to compete musically with Bryant. But this book is called The Sobbing School. It's lots of poetry. It's by this amazing poet named Joshua Bennett. He's performed in the White House, but it's really about Black history and the Black experience in the United States. Amazing book, amazing. And it's a quick read, so definitely check it out. Y'all know me, I'll let y'all borrow my books, but y'all gotta bring them back.
No, she'll mail it to you too now. I got like 2 of hers at least. Me on my end, I want to share a song by Sean Carter and Beanie Siegel, or Jay-Z and Beanie Siegel. It's called "Where Have You Been?" It's about their relationships with their fathers and how it affected them once they hit fame and once they did, got to a different level. So check that song out. And that's one of the first songs between me and my sister. I think I was like 11, 12. She was like 13, 14. We knew this song word for word as far as like just going up to our father and acknowledging the things that we lacked. And looking back, 20 years ago, we didn't realize how that affected who we would become. So if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Without me tearing up.
I've never heard the song. I definitely got to tune into that.
We got to pull that up. And so it's just an honest revelation of how they view their fathers, a conversation they wish they could have with their fathers, which, as far as being a fan of Jay-Z, he later had, and it was dictated through other songs. But overall, I just remember being a young kid, a young teen, and me and my sister like singing this song, like, because our father wasn't in our life, but we weren't recognizing how that actually affected us. And even in my father's current passing, us wanting to have a relationship with him, and the dichotomy between those two feelings. And so given what we're talking about today, toxicity, where toxicity stems from, we knew that song kind of, represented something that we went through. So definitely check out Where Have You Been by Jay-Z and Beanie Siegel off Dynasty Rock La Familia, Jay-Z's, I think, 5th album. Shout out to Rockefeller, baby. I need to change.
I just want to leave y'all with licensed therapist DeMonica said, if you know your toxic trait, give yourself grace. And I think a lot of people suffer with that. So good job to you.
Yeah, so big shout out to social media for making it something to talk about, because what we want to do is make it something that we can make ourselves better through. So I also shout out to Tony Graham, shout out to Manar, the great Manar, Big Boss Manar, for defining it for us. And I think we had a good episode. I think we're going to be able to take it further in the future.
Definitely tune in next week. It'll be well worth it.
Yeah, I'm back.
There.
Yeah. That wraps us up, episode 7. Thank you, the Ayat Solomon. We appreciate you.
Anytime. Thank you.
There we go. We'll see you next week.